like mark that I decided that I needed to update it before I put it in there.
I kind of like starting from scratch though.
Say hello.
Because then you can go back and look and see how much you've progressed.
Yeah. So this
We're gonna start in like 2 more minutes.
I do really hate doing portfolio stuff too.
I hate it. It's like I have to do this project again. We were just talking about that. I feel like I have to do 2 projects.
Well, and then after the discussion panel last week and the emphasis that everybody was putting on like showing process and things like that, I have to
hopefully they
kind
can
of
get it.
do all of mine
again.
And try and dig out like the process stuff. And I know I won't find half of it inside it. Maybe I'll just like
that's fine. I mean, I think this is just gonna be more conversational than anything.
So I was pulling files from my work computer so that I have one.
I have to. Jenny has to say hello.
And I got like all the work with process. So many.
Welcome to our show.
Okay, now go back to the
Like
screen.
100 days worth of work.
I always carry an external. Yeah, I have my last when I closed out my company, I took like basically a backup of our entire 3 of our computers.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Looks like it's gonna be just us for today. We did a few stragglers.
Leave it to the creatives to not show up on the sales.
I know. Hopefully there's no other meeting behind this.
Not at all.
What do we have left after? We have sales today, and then what's our last one?
We're gonna do one. We're just gonna kind of put it all together. Is what it comes down to. Yeah, I think maybe that'd be a good chance to. And I mean, you guys feel free to tell us what you think it should be on too. But I think just to kind of go over more like case studies type things and like looking at and kind of analyzing what I do, maybe what you had set up, a little bit more detail. Go through more examples, but
Mistakes we've made.
yeah, we haven't talked enough about them.
True.
Okay, but yeah, so we'll just take it from the top. So this is Unka this week, being extra cuddly. Yes. So we're going to, first we'll go over last week's homework, and then we'll do the presentation for sales, where we'll really kind of skim over the stuff for how to get in front of clients, revenue versus profit. Did we include that? I don't remember. Lead generation, and then go through a user journey. And then I have 3 role plays at the end, just because I couldn't decide on one. And they're a little bit longer, and they're more intense, I guess you could say, or in depth. Yeah. Okay, so last week's homework, we are now done with point booking process. So you were to generate your task lists for your packages. Did you? Nobody did it. That's okay. It takes a lot of time to think about this stuff, and if like 2 weeks goes by really fast without you even thinking. So generate your task list for your packages. So if you're picking up where you left off, I assume you have your packages put together and you're working on the number of points per package, and now taking it to the next step of connecting it essentially with your project management tool and saving out your packages as task lists and creating kind of templates for that, because it'll just automate the process for when you do onboard the client. Send them an invite to your project management tool, import the task list template that you have, and then if there's any customizations that you did to the proposal, you can just as easily customize your task list template.
To-do list per project.
Okay.
That
That'd be nice.
Copy and paste. Yeah. So when the new project starts, you have that to-do list
checklist.
Yeah. Exactly. And then terms and conditions. So this is like the last page on the proposal, and what you want to have in there. I mean, we've talked about some really creative ideas of like having a rush charge, like rush points that are going to be allocated to a project, or premium, or their
Restart fee.
the restart fee, which I'm going to add into mine.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
it.
liking
That
People go silent sometimes.
It is
I-
a motivator.
have a website, 2 websites that have gone silent for over a year. And one of them is for my building, and that just says what, like, anyways. I'm like, why can't they get on board with this? I'm like, it's done. We just have to go live, literally.
I just launched, or I got permission to launch a site today that's been done for over 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know. People get cold feet, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, thinking about what those terms and conditions are, getting creative with it, and kind of covering all your bases. And then, so I sent out a worksheet as well. So the define your audience PDF, if that was helpful, and then the marketing calendar. I know it's a lot.
Your marketing calendar is so ambitious.
Well,
I never
it's
felt
start
so
one.
inadequate
Right.
at social media.
Let's start with one.
just start with one. Yeah, exactly. And it's also like, it's something that if you wanted to employ for use with the client as well, it's for you to take into consideration and wanted to get them on the upsell strategy. You know what I mean?
Okay, and tip, they're called virtual assistants. They'll
Yeah.
do marketing, publishing to social media, creating, like content creation.
Mm-hmm.
I outsourced this, and they call themselves virtual assistants for some reason, but it's like they do a lot of stuff in like heavy social media marketing, and it's worth every penny, and $25 an hour, or anywhere from 25 to 35 bucks an hour.
It's like
For the
a
good ones.
organization
They do
called
the-
virtual assistant.
No,
They do the content too?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. There's Facebook, tons of Facebook groups. Like where I found contractors and other people to help me were Facebook groups.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's solopreneur and entrepreneur Facebook groups. There's especially women entrepreneur groups,
Mhm.
but both. And there are like whatever project management tool. Like I used Dubsado for some project and client. It's more client management, like onboarding, offboarding, and some revision process, and then invoicing and automating workflows. But they have a Facebook group where it's like other people that are using this tool, and they're like, so look in like entrepreneur Facebook groups for these people.
And it's called a virtual assistant. Like I can say, I'm looking for a virtual assistant.
Is it
So I would do one caution with working with content creators, that if you are going to, hey, Marcus here. If you are going to work with other like people to start generating content for yourself, like the last thing you want to do is hire someone to do this for you, and then they'd be like, great, so what do you want me to say? And I'm like, that's why you're hired. So just watch out for like, I mean, I assume it's like the same level with creatives too. Like you hire production designer versus an actual creative designer, you get what you pay for in this stuff.
Got them, and I created a content strategy. Then I had all of the categories of things, and I had, my brand and like who I was. So I had like a lot of stuff to hand over, and it takes about a month to like sort of like onboard and teach them. But the good ones, like it's very basic, and at least like it's something. It's like you're posting and people are like, oh, they're there. It doesn't have to be like award-winning copy.
No.
So
Frequency and recency.
but it's better to do something than nothing, because I kept getting people, like that's how I would get new leads, is from, oh, I saw and it reminded me of, blah, blah, blah.
Perfect. Exactly the way it's supposed to work.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Yeah.
Is there a way to search for groups on Facebook?
Yeah, of course.
How?
Click in the search entrepreneur group or solopreneur.
Just add the word like group to whatever you're searching for?
Or I think when you
Yeah,
hit
filters.
enter, it comes
Yeah.
up with like people, places, like events, like
Oh,
whatever.
yeah,
and
groups.
I think you can
Search groups.
I think groups is an option.
I'm in so many groups. There's, yeah.
Yeah, I think I figured it out. Okay, thanks.
Success Network, Dubsado Community, We Are Badassery, The Designer Collective, Lit Up and Loaded Entrepreneur, and there's like a million.
Lit up and what?
Lit Up and Loaded.
Lit up and loaded?
Don't ask. Let me
Wow.
just make sure virtual assistant is the right term.
I think so. That sounds familiar. Yeah.
But they're like marketing people and like content people and
Yeah.
That would be nice.
yeah, virtual assistant. So search in the group virtual assistant, and it'll pull up because everybody asks for this, like, hey, I'm hiring a virtual assistant, and you can see everybody's replies, like, that's me, that's me, that's me. And you don't even have to post to like vet people.
Perfect. Okay. So starting off with sales. So I put this up here just to remind people that you are sitting at the table with potentially some of your competitors and what makes me want to hire you over your competitor and how are you differentiating yourselves. And I'll give you a tip, the best designers don't always win. There's so many other factors that go into this. So that's what we're going to talk about today, just to keep in mind that you have to be different and you have to be on top of your sales process and you have to put yourself out there is what it all comes down to. If you're sitting writing the best blog or creating the best designs at home and not showing them to anybody, then it doesn't matter. Like no one knows what you're doing, right? So a little bit about how your portfolio meets sales. So Jenny and I talked about this, and I feel like this is a really good intro because your portfolio does do a lot of sales. It makes your introduction for when clients are looking for specific type of services or looking for specific type of products or projects, or if you work in a niche in the industry and you happen to show up in some search results, whether it be through social media or these portfolio websites. Does anyone actually use Behance? It's a portfolio place.
I use that.
Do you use it? Is there any traction?
I just have some artworks there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know people, or Behance or Dribble, like people go to they go to their websites to search for specific things is what it comes down to. And so if you have everything properly cataloged with the right keywords, then potentially you could show up in the search results for people who are looking for something specific.
I think agencies and like above, like bigger companies, that's where I'd say like
they source talent from there.
They source talent from there, and then the people that wouldn't know to look wouldn't go there.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely for creatives specifically.
Yeah.
The only person I know who uses it of my friends, he does a ton of album covers and stuff, and he's worked with like Demi Lovato,
no way,
Jonas.
Oh my God.
He started doing it like in high school, so he's been doing it forever. And he lives in LA, so I think he meets a ton of those people. But
okay,
so I think he finds some stuff through that. But
yeah. So it's like
you're right.
So maybe keep it niche.
Yeah.
I guess if you do go on those sites to show your work.
And just have it look really amazing.
Yeah.
Like spend time, like invest your time.
Yeah.
You're not even going to do anything else. Like having an amazing portfolio is the best tool sometimes.
I go on there for design inspiration all the time, but
Me too.
yeah. But I never post anything. That's so bad. I should post myself. Okay, so if you are doing this, one of the tips for sharing your portfolio to help you with sales is to talk about your process. And that is the first thing that you can do to start differentiating yourself from the other designer that's sitting across from you. Everyone can have a unique process of managing their projects, of their creative process, of the flow. But the point is that you want people to see your portfolio and recognize that no, you're very professional. You obviously have some strategy behind what you're doing. You're not just throwing this together because you thought it looked good. Make yourself sound like the actual creative director. And some of the best creative directors that I had are also the best writers, which I feel like they have the huge heads up on that. They're so lucky. They're like, I know, because it is like, how can you like thoughtfully articulate your process? And then once you have it down, then you can kind of like copy paste, find your place and repeat. But it definitely takes some time to figure that out.
How in depth? I've gotten mixed feedback, like, oh, your case studies are so long. If I go like really into my process, and then if there's not enough process, it's like, that is your differentiator. It's like you have a process, like you need to put that in there. It's like, where do you?
However long it is, have that one quantifiable, like memorable story. Like I feel like it doesn't even matter how long it is. Like if you have that call out, people aren't going to read through, but some will,
Mhm.
but a lot of people won't. But
Yeah.
if somebody sees like increase whatever by X% or like had this result or whatever, like that's all they want to know.
Okay.
Yeah, add numbers.
So
Add
have
numbers
that
and
kind of at the
analytics.
top, and it's like, if you want to go through the whole journey, you can.
And have it like design wise, like have like the quote, you know, and bigger letters and
Mhm.
like have it read, you know, so that
Yeah.
people could see
Don't make it
it.
look like a book.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, which I know a lot of UX portfolios tend to look like that because there's a lot to explain, and if you're not verbally explaining it to someone, there's a lot of stuff that gets missed in between the cracks. But you could have like, I don't know, you could create a long version and a short version of everything.
True.
Just double the work, but potentially worth it. But yeah, maybe just what you said, your summary, add numbers. People like looking at numbers because they like skimming. They don't actually like reading a whole lot. If you have anything
And
quantifiable.
you can say like click to download the case study or whatever, and just have
Oh yeah.
a summary,
Mm-hmm.
and then sort of see how the results of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so sales. So sales is primarily made up of these three skill sets. So skills, knowledge, and discipline. And it's really the combination of all of these three things that make up a good salesperson. So what do you think, and we're talking about design specifically, what do you think makes a good person or good salesperson if they have, or like what are some key factors for knowledge? So like if you're a very knowledgeable design salesperson, what is that?
Think you know about your process.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like process, just anything that comes to mind. Like when you think of a knowledgeable salesperson for design, what comes to mind, or what would that person be like?
Like how their services are going to benefit someone,
Mhm.
what the process is, like how long something will take.
What the client needs.
Yeah.
Okay. Business knowledge.
Well, or even like, oh, you're gonna need to print this, so you're gonna need X, Y, and Z, or you should be using Pantone colors for this print, or you know,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff too. So maybe like technical knowledge, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
Technical
I was gonna
knowledge.
say like business knowledge, like know how it's gonna impact their business.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully, if you understand their
Yeah.
business.
Trying to convince them.
Uh-huh. What about for skill and discipline? Let's do discipline.
Maybe knowing like the correct people that need to be involved. Like if there's,
I would put that back under knowledge.
okay.
Yeah.
timeline and being able to stick to it.
Yes.
Think of the thing you're wanting to avoid.
Yeah.
That's what falls into discipline.
Discipline, timeline, follow-ups, emails.
Sending one email does not do it. People do not read. And when I was selling software, I would set up an email to go day 1, day 3, and day 5,
Mhm.
and then maybe like day 15. They need you to like remind them.
Be
And it's
relentless.
personable and organic and, you know, conversational, but
Don't give up.
Okay.
Yeah.
you are not gonna respond. And even if they ask you for like, I'm interested, and then you follow up and you never hear back, like expect that.
Yeah.
You have to keep following up. I think that's something that sometimes
It's
gets
like
overlooked.
maybe a no today, maybe a yes tomorrow.
Exactly. Then whether or not they're ready to work with you now, then I've had clients or conversations come back 2 years later and then they've turned into a blue chip client. Timing is everything.
Especially when they say no, and then you follow up in a couple months and be like, I just did this interesting thing and it reminded me of you. Like just
That's a
Here it
perfect
is.
template to use for an email blast.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I just did this super awesome project. It's really interesting. Here's what I found.
X,
While
Y,
doing
Z,
this
it reminded
project?
me of you.
Yeah. What about for skill? What skills make a good salesperson?
Being able to talk to people.
Yes. Personable. Yeah. What else?
Trustworthy.
Empathetic.
Yeah, relatable, I was gonna say.
So yeah, all of these are qualities of good salespeople. So now, if you are a salesperson and you possess too much knowledge, you may come off as being too techie and you're not relating to people. Or if you are too disciplined, then you're just a robot. You're not actually able to close the scale because you don't have the knowledge behind it. And then for skill, like sure, you know the programs and languages and stuff, but you don't actually understand the whole creative process and aren't like, you're going to ignore all your emails for whatever reason. So it's, it's a balance of all of these three things. Okay, so now we're going to go into an example of a user journey, and all of us have been through this with brands or companies, and whether or not we realize it, it is an actual planned out journey. Like these people, everything that you see online is very much intentional, and they are trying to put you on their user journey. So for example,
Yeah, most content strategies map to the user journey or the sales journey, and it's content that tries to push them to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what blog post would speak to, you know, level 2 or like phase 2 to get them to get into phase 3.
Yeah, exactly. So this is I guess an example, kind of what I am doing with Point Book, not really, but so if you look back at step 1, so not knowing who you are, people are learning who you are from social, email, and YouTube. They know who you are at this point. Well, hopefully in order for them to make this step, they've like taken the next level and downloaded a freebie, a free PDF, download the case study, whatever that might be. But you get their email address at that point. And the next level would be for them to purchase something from you. It could just be a very small product for a minimal amount of money, but then you get them to the level where they trust you enough, they think you're a voice of authority on the topic, and now they are giving you money for that.
And the best content has those 3 of the like diagram, all 3 even, that like touches on emotion, touches on like being an expert, and whatever the other, discipline.
Discipline, yeah.
Business acumen.
Yes, skill, knowledge, discipline. So the second level connection, you want to increase those dollar signs. So you have your freebie, you have your minimal product, and now you have your course as an example. So people are downloading something that's a little bit more money, where you work your way up to, then they believe they learned a lot from you, now they want to consult with you, and then after consulting with you, they want to sign up for boot camp. Lots of people do this, kind of a typical journey. But what we're going to do is talk about this for a person who's looking for a new branding and identity, just as an example. So if you guys recognize this little diagram in the corner, so the lower the price, the lower the value. We're going to work our way up this little ladder here so that we're maxing out our value and maxing out our price. So first level connection, I'm looking for a new branding and identity. I was browsing Behance and I found this awesome portfolio for branding on Instagram that linked to Behance. I saw they had a great eye for design and a solid process. I also saw that they have a background in the same industry as my client, so I bookmarked their portfolio. And your efforts put forth, if you are the designer in this instance, you have an Instagram, you have a Behance, and your portfolio displays your process. So that's a lot of work for you to get just to this point, just to make a first level connection with someone. But now how you can start scaling this, how do you start getting them to go up the value ladder? And with the design process, it's obviously a little bit different than selling like minimal price, and then it's more, for an example, like how do you onboard someone for a small project and then get them to come back to be a recurring blue chip client is really what this is for us. So second level connection, I need extra help with the project I'm working on and return to the designer's portfolio. I then check out their website and book a time to chat. I really appreciated how easy it was to schedule a call with the designer. So the efforts put forth by the designer is they have a website and they have some sort of scheduler to kind of remove that blockade of trying to get a hold of designers, because I think we all have notoriously bad reputations for being unresponsive. And if you like, I still get booked from my chat, and I've done nothing to promote it, probably like 2-3 times a week. And that's like 2-3 conversations with cold leads that I've never talked to before. So getting rid of that barrier to entry is key, because I know that if I can talk to someone, I can sell them.
Think about, like, you text your friend, you don't call them usually, right?
Yeah.
This is like the easy way to get people to commit to time with you
Yes.
in like a passive way.
Yes. Passive is what it's all about. And again, just 20 minutes is key if you do a schedule of 20 minutes. So your third level connection is, I had a great conversation with the designer. They sound like they're a great fit for what I'm looking for. There's a high level of professionalism, and they seem to really understand what my client's needs are. We made a great connection. The designer sounds like a nice and fun person. I booked the designer for one project to start to see how we can work together. This is still from your website. And then the upsell, I had such a wonderful time working with the designer. I brought him or her on for retainer. I have more than enough projects to keep up their pipeline for the next few months. So how do you take them on the journey so that you can get to this last slide? I know there's a lot that happens between this third level connection and then taking the step for the retainer, because it obviously has to be right for the client. It has to be right for you. I think a lot of SMBs that I've worked with haven't even thought of having someone on retainer until they work with me. And then they're like, oh, I really understand the value of this relationship. I surely can't keep up this effort by myself. I do need someone like this. So through our first project, I end up almost justifying my retainer cost for them. And then we'll come on as retainer and we'll continue the conversation with them.
And I'll even use that as a sales tactic for.
But you have to ask for it. They're not going to be like, oh, so can we hire you on retainer? Like, this is so great. Like, after that first project, have your end of project review meeting and explain to them, like, I found this really valuable. I think that this is something that could be an ongoing thing. What do you guys think? And talk to the value that you're adding to their company.
Sometimes when I know there's like huge projects or 3 or 4 projects and the client's not ready to, I think you had a situation like that where they didn't want to like bite off more than they can chew at first, or they didn't want to like, and there's like timing involved. Sometimes I did a sort of like, let's take the first piece of the project and prove out, whatever, make sure they're comfortable, have it be like almost a trial and have them commit to the whole thing and say that only that first project's non-refundable and can cancel anytime. So they're still sort of like committing and going through the paperwork and all of that. And then, you wow them on that first project and then everything stays and you get all the more money.
I think that it's a very different sales process going in as a freelancer than as an agency. As an agency, a lot of them won't even talk to clients that unless they're paying them like $25,000 to $50,000 a month on retainer for 2 years, so it's like very different audiences. And then you'd be more like an agency of record for whatever client you're working at. Whereas the clients that we're working on, you're either getting hired on by project for SMBs or for startups or your audiences, or you're working with large national brands, which those are a little bit more challenging to, I guess, kind of upsell because that's very structured, it's very fit, it's very, it's not very organic than if you were to have a broader audience, but it's just different. You have to know who you're talking to and what their capabilities are for when they're hiring you.
Sorry about the graphic, guys. It just had good content, but.
So I'm gonna, no, this is great. And I'm gonna ask you to, or I could take a pen, and if we whiteboard a couple examples of these on the left.
Do you want me to?
So I don't know who has better handwriting. I don't know if you guys want me to write. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Let's do it. Just for example. So, and then I'll let you take it from here. If you want to start with this guy on the right, and then we'll just go over some examples.
What am I doing?
Talk about the graphic on the right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, this was lead generation. I think there's obviously 3 points of entry and then to get people to the opt-in. There's organic search and paid search or ads, and then your content. So, organic search is just the like target rich word, like the words that you use on your site, and making sure that
Behance portfolio,
Yeah.
keywords, niche projects. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever you are in the world, like people find you organically.
Yeah.
Content, what would you say examples of content?
Blog, e-blast.
Same as
Yeah.
organic, but yeah, it's like you're intentionally putting out, you know,
Guest blogging, lots
Yeah.
of, find a high traffic website that can link back to yours.
Yep.
People are thirsty for content. If you reach out to them and offer to write for them, most of the time they'll be like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially where they're like on tight deadlines all the time
Yeah.
too, where it's like, it's ready, here's
They
the
always want content.
and then there's ads. Like, I don't know if you're gonna do ads for PointBook, or if you have like a specific package that like you're targeting a niche, like audience, like that is great for it. Facebook ads or SEO. Yeah. This is
So let's write down, so a lead magnet. What are some examples that we can write down for lead magnets?
What's lead magnet?
Yeah, what do you mean by lead magnet?
it's an opt-in.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of content that's like, so my customers were my clients were purpose-driven entrepreneurs that were about ready to launch their dream business, and I would write content or provide like a blog post with a freebie, a download, like a premium that it's like thinking about all of the challenges your target audience has. Getting overwhelmed. I know I'm
No,
like,
keep doing it. I'm writing down your example.
It's like how to draw them in.
yeah. So it's like giving solutions to their problems. It's like thinking about what your target market has a problem on. Who does this amazingly well? HubSpot.
HubSpot is amazing at it. So
And they
for
provide
example, a
a
lead
lot.
magnet for us, I think would be a really good example. Like I have my brand guidelines checklist that is targeted for small businesses who are potentially working on their brand guidelines, and then, oh, lo and behold, I also have a brand guidelines package. So
Think about like a magnet where like you're like pulling somebody to your business with content that's irresistible.
yeah, and then it goes to my package.
Yeah.
How is your package different than the freebie you're giving out?
This is my service.
And the services that
This is
you
my
walk them through the
$2,500
free
project service.
package, or you create
So-
the actual?
So from my content, or I guess I should say conversation. So content or convo, I'll be like, hey, well, someone talks to me and are interested in my branding, then I'm like, well, just so you know, I'll send you a PDF of my brand guidelines checklist, just so you can assess where you're at, and then I'll also send you a link to my proposal where you can then see what I can do for you. So it's just another way of keeping them engaged, and it provides credibility and generates interest. A lot of this stuff, so this is cold, and this would be warm.
All of those like content calendar templates, anything you ask for an email, like it has to be valuable enough that it's worth them giving their email address to you.
And it builds trust too. So that they're like, oh, this person really knows what they're doing. It's your process.
Yeah.
Okay, lead magnet, tripwire. What can we do for a tripwire?
Are you doing one for PointBook?
Well, I guess not really. So this is more, how can we do this for design? For our like selling and design services.
It's like something it's like a $20 to $50 would be one.
I've
Right?
seen a PR, yeah, so my friend does PR, DIY PR, and she's brilliant at it. And she does these, let's just say like, she has her content. When I say content, it's any of those like organic search content ads, like people are finding you somehow, some way. And then she's a $100 consultation.
Sorry, can you just step back for 1 second and explain a little bit what like a tripwire is in general? Like, what do you mean when you say tripwire?
So
Something that trips up the customer potentially and gets them? Is that what you're trying to
you
do?
get stuck in this like this cycle of like, okay, well, content to conversation, and then they're not actually buying anything. So before you get down to your package, you need to have something here that kind of like bridges the gap, essentially is what this is.
Okay, and sorry, this list of lead generation, these are all different ways of generating leads?
Yes.
Not 8 points that lead to.
No,
Okay.
no.
Sorry.
These
I'm
are
just
all
trying to make
different
sure.
ways that we can, I mean, some of these are a little bit more intuitive, like call to actions and promos.
So there's like a tripwire, and then what is the thing called where it's like they're looking at the shopping cart, but they don't buy it, and then when you try to leave, they're like, here's a lesser value thing.
Yeah.
What is that called?
It's empty cart campaign.
Oh, I think it's called a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So basically there's like a lot of different names for strategic ways to engage with a visitor on your website, entering the website and exiting the website. And a tripwire is one of those where when you don't take the action, it re-engages you in a like more passive, like less commitment-y way to re-engage you. And they're called a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think this makes, for our cases, it probably makes sense more as like email templates and sequences that you can template out, which we do have I do have a list of them later on that we'll get through that I think everybody should have, and that's part of your homework for tonight.
I offered a 30-minute free quick win brand audit that was a pop-up on my site that would be an example where they didn't fill out the design inquiry and they didn't book a time with me, and then I sort of offered like, here's some, spend 30 minutes with me, we'll go over your website and I'll give you a couple of things you could DIY yourself, just suggestions or just like a high value, like really short engagement. And like, I'd say 40 to 50% of the people I talked to ended up being a customer because it's about connection.
The tripwire is something that you implement if the lead is not taking the initiative themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a pop-up, basically.
Yes,
of
or
kinds.
Some sort of content that you can share because like whatever, so unless you went straight from your conversation to here, now you need to be convinced somehow to get to you there. And so all of these are different ways that you can provide trust, that you can show that you are credible, that you have a process, that you're a design thinker. So quick win brand data, DIY brand guidelines, 40-point website analysis, anything that you can kind of create as a PDF and then turn into a convo, or maybe you could like walk them through it, even like what you did with your
People do free webinars too. Like that's like I don't know if it's getting more dated now, but those like free webinars on.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to
pre-recorded
for design, like what other pieces of content you guys could create that would be helpful for your audiences.
The most successful thing I did as well is a website content planner. One of my biggest pain points and the client's biggest pain points was writing their website copy.
Yeah.
So they come to me and are like, I need a website. And I'm like, great. Like, do you have anything written? No. And they don't know where to start or whatever. Yeah. So I created this website content and copy planner guide.
My content strategy people are my biggest strategic partners. Because I like refer people to them all the time. So I'm just like, I'm more than happy to do your website. I'm not a writer.
And you can't do anything without it. And it gets stuck.
I'll introduce you to my strategic partner who can take this from here. But
yeah. But it's a popular download, I'd say, even if they do and end up engaging.
What else can we do? Brand guidelines. You guys have to have some ideas.
I think like I've seen a lot of you niche, like for people that are in like in a certain niche, they'll offer like a PDF on like tips for blah blah blah.
Fly fishing.
In whatever. Yeah.
What's your hierarchy? That sounds really
How are these different than the lead magnets? I'm having a hard time grasping.
So it's the way that
Sorry.
it flows. So a tripwire is a different flow than a lead magnet, is what it comes down to.
But it's the same material, the same content that you're delivering.
Yeah, it's just the different way that you're going to lead them down this funnel, essentially. So the tripwire is more like, I'm stuck in this content and conversation, but they're not actually taking any initiative with me. I sent them a proposal, they didn't reply. Maybe they'll stay for something in the middle.
It's like a call to action.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you would know that if the client gets your email or not? Like maybe if they read it or maybe it's in their junk email? Is there a way that you could find it out?
Yeah, there's so I use HubSpot and it tells me I can see when anyone reads all my
One
emails.
second.
It's called HubSpot.
HubSpot.
So now it's a CRM. You do have to pay for it. What's a free CRM that has?
There's just like plugins that you can even like embed.
Mixmax.
On Google.
Mixmax was one.
Okay, a tripwire is a passive triggering mechanism. Typically, a wire or cord is attached to some device for detecting or reacting to physical movement. A tripwire may be, okay, that's not helpful. But that's where it comes from. That's like the root, right?
Yeah, I get it. So it's
I get a triple.
Yeah.
So
I think like pop-ups was a good way to describe them.
Yeah.
When you're on a website and you haven't done anything. Pop-ups and stuff.
Sure. On the website. Okay. Mixmax, I think I used them before I used HubSpot, and they do scheduling. They can also tell you if you can see like who opens your emails. I think.
Usually all of them are like the open rate, at least what I've seen, is like got open rates.
So it's not just open rates for sending out e-blasts. I can see when I send an email out to anyone, private or not, that they can open it.
Yeah, I used to use like this thing called mail tag. And it shows
Mail
like,
tag?
Mail tag.
Yeah.
And it shows like it, especially when I was like trying to find jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was like how long people spend down there and like what devices they opened it on.
is it free?
Yeah.
traditionally,
like it was useful.
the lead
It was
magnet's
useful,
free
but
and
also
tripwire
it's
is like $10,
disheartening.
$20.
It's
It's like,
like you don't.
so it's
I don't even
maybe
think this is
more
a-
for
yeah,
like course related.
But it was useful. Just, you know, like when
It's
you
like a
develop,
plugin for.
Yeah. There's a plugins that you add to your browser.
I mean, would a tripwire be something like when you're on a website and like the live chat box pops up and is like, hey, talk to us, or got any questions I can answer today? That those are tripwires, something that engages you.
I think there's a tactful way of doing it, and there's a very, very annoying way of doing it. I think, given the nature of our services, it has to be done very tactfully, and it has to be relevant. Relevancy is key.
You know
So
when you
it's
like give somebody your email address for like a service and then you don't do anything, but they have your email because you've already signed up, and then they email you and say, okay, here's 50% off. And then in 2 weeks, if you don't do anything, they're like, here's 75% off. Like,
Immediately going in for the discount, and then they don't value you.
Yeah.
You don't value them. So what are some, all right, so creating a sense of urgency. Oh wait, upsells. We all understand what upsell is, right? We don't have an example of that. Like my upsell is to get clients on retainers after doing one package with me. Unless you guys have another example of the upsell that you encountered in your services.
I actually have like, make sure to have like additional services that they didn't, like in their, not in agreement, but like, you know, in their scope. You could say like additional services not included to like wet their whistle. And then in Dubsado, I even have a place where they can add to cart if they want to. Email templates, and it's just there in the like process of making their deposit. So
Cool. Yeah, and that's a brilliant upsell. So in the proposal, include a list of all your services, not just the one package that you're sending. Cool. You know what, I used to do that. I don't know why I don't anymore.
it's just in case
I
they
just assumed everybody looked at my website, I think.
select it.
Yeah, I never did that in the proposal. Creating a sense of urgency. You were really good at this.
Yeah. When you're having that initial consultation with someone and sometimes they don't, but usually there's some kind of defining event, some kind of like that they're leading up to that they need this thing for, and that's something that you can use. The other way to use it would be discounting, which we don't do, but things like that, like if you wanted to give a value add or, you know, it's like something in exchange for timing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would give like some kind of premium like service if they sign up by X date. But for lead generation purposes,
Or like my dad did, just did he has like 2 businesses in his business. He did a promotion that was like, he's upping his prices next month. So it's like,
exactly, it's perfect.
Ah, there you go.
Or like
That's a good way. If you guys want to start updating your pricing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be doubling your pricing by the end of this year, right?
and sending that to everyone that has expressed interest, it's brilliant. Like if you need some extra cash really fast and have time. Or like I've got 2 spots left in my design calendar and blasting that out.
That's the one that
Oh,
I see.
yeah.
Don't say 1, say 2 because people will assume it's filled, kind of thing. Like a couple days later, whatever.
That's the one. All right.
That's kind of promos.
Urgency, call to action, and call to actions and promos, those are kind of the same thing. Well,
This is like the wide and like the casting the net wide, you know, you'll figure out what your, like how many leads you need to make a sale. And this is a way to cast that wide net and to get people into your pipeline. Like that's the whole point of this, is you want to make sure you are constantly having conversations with new clients because it doesn't always happen right away.
yeah.
And especially when you're really, really busy, that's the time to like, because the lull is coming, you know.
I would say my call to action is my 20-minute phone call, quick time to chat.
Fill out the design inquiry, schedule a free consultation.
Yeah. Consult, although both of these are kind of like the same thing, I guess, but like free consultation just sounds more antiquated to me.
Yeah.
Do you push the word free on your schedule? Or do you
No.
just say like schedule 20?
Just a quick 20-minute chat.
Yeah.
And it works kind of both ways because I do like, there's like SaaS technologies that try to target freelancers, you know, and so like they'll book a time to chat with me from my sales calendar. I get really, really frustrated at that because I'm like, you're taking time off my sales calendar that I could be talking to a client right now to sell me your services. Do not do that.
That's crazy.
Oh,
I never
that
got
makes me
that.
so bad. That happened this morning, actually.
Oh God, that's bad.
You
So-
send an email to the person before you can actually call
So
them.
I started doing that. Yeah, except for this person didn't reply, and then he like didn't come to the meeting, and then tried booking me this afternoon again. And I'm like, no, this is not happening.
Some calendar schedulers, like tools, I think Acuity may be one of them. You can set it up so that the calendar invite does not get approved until they fill out a form, and you can ask like questions.
Yeah, I can make it more complicated, but I just like for how often it does happen, it doesn't. It does whatever.
You want to make it as easy for people, the right people to
Yeah.
schedule as possible though.
What are some promos that we could run? So I guess that would be more, I ran promos a lot when I was aligning myself with strategic partnerships. So I was a sponsor of Sales Hacker Midwest. I was a sponsor of Midwest Women in Tech. I'm on the leadership board for Women in Tech Founders. All of those, they do events, and part of the promotion would be like, hey, visit me at the booth at this event, you know, and try and leverage their network. So that is a promo. It doesn't have to be promo, doesn't have to be a discount specifically. So
Use your network for like,
Yes.
if you can talk about design on a blog or do a webinar with somebody. I feel like some of the highest value, like lowest energy activities are where they get to know you personally and have that ability to make the connection, and it's a wide net at the same time.
Yeah. So when I say I was a sponsor, I did a logo I did the Midwest Women in Tech logo, and that like got me like the sponsorship and like all the recognition from that supposedly. But so usually you give that in turn for like in kind is what they would call it. You reach out to someone, and you can, if you're interested in a specific organization, you could reach out to them because they'll take free work.
Yeah.
Usually, but then you have to ask to be listed as a sponsor, and then you may, depending on how big the organization is, you may get some pushback on that because they're selling their sponsorships for $10,000, and they're not going to put you at the same level for like a PDF that you designed as a $10,000 sponsor. So it may work, it may not work. Keep filling your pipeline and follow up often, so then just write email sequences then. I'll see if this is, we'll come back to others.
But at the very, very least, collect email addresses. Even if you
From
sit on
anyone.
it for a couple of months or sit, while you're ramping up, just collect them. It's one of the most valuable things you could have.
Yeah. Okay, so you could go back and do all of these today. It's a lot of content generation. It's a lot of thinking about how this is going to actually look. What's it going to be on my website? Who are my strategic partners? What are my freemiums? Or am I going to have a pop-up? But all of this stuff is just, again, to generate sales for you. Okay, so a couple other points for building a sales pipeline. Obtain the lead, so identify your rich referral sources and have a strong relationship with them. I have probably like 3 or 4 people that like consistently send me referrals every single month, just because that's just what they do. And they scratch my back, I scratch their back, and it's all it's a good world. I will say that you may run into situations once you get into this and people will start reaching out to you and want to be a strategic partner, and then the first thing out of their mouth will be like, well, how much of a discount can you give my clients? At which point you're like, listen, let me explain what we do. And then those types of partnerships obviously aren't going to be the best ones for you. Or you may run into situations where they may send you some leads and then they'll expect, they won't expect you to give them the client a discount. They'll expect you to give them a kickback for like 20% of your project or whatnot. So you have to really think what you are willing and not willing to do when it comes to business. I know people that are perfectly fine doing business that way, working at 20% under what their actual project cost would be, because it's a consistent flow of income. So there's pros and cons to both.
Something I did with my contractors when I got this job is I did set up, I'm a referral fee or referral partnership where I told them to raise their rates like 40% or 30%, and then I'm like, I will take 20 when I refer business, and they were like delighted.
Yeah.
And then another thing I did to keep my referral.
So that's a smart way of doing that, rather than being like, can you just give my clients a discount?
Yeah, I wanted 20% because the clients I was giving them, they would not get otherwise. Like these are like network people that are
exactly.
like 30, 40-year-old women, and they're more like millennial arena. But that's a way, to kick back 5 or 10% to the people that keep referring you business, or like sending something nice, or sending thank you note, or
thank you notes. So your clients are your brand advocates. Always ask for a testimonial at the end of the project. So again, at the end of a project, if you want to make it impersonal, if you don't actually want to talk to them, you can send a Google form and ask them for a testimonial that way and some feedback. Or you can ask them via email. If it's a good client and they had a successful time working with you, there should be no problem.
And feel free to say, this is an important part of my business and means a lot. This is really valuable to me.
Yeah, and they'll probably look at it as like, sure, you can use my logo as more visibility for me.
Right.
Look on LinkedIn at people who you're working with. It's always fun contacting them, or think of fun ways to contact them to get them in touch, start them as a client. So I kind of got tired of LinkedIn, but people still use it all the time, just because the quality of leads that I was getting from there dwindled. It got too saturated. My network got too big is what it came down to. And so I just got spammed too much. But if you have like a sincere network of followers on LinkedIn and people that know people, like a second degree connection, that you can reach out to them and ask for an introduction, and they'll probably be like, sure, no problem. It's all done via LinkedIn, super easy.
And you'll be able to pull out personal information about them, where they went to school, if they're into craft beer. Like, these are the things you can use to have a really organic reach out.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be cold, even though it's cold.
Yeah. It definitely falls into the fact that people want to help you. So networking, doing the hustle, bringing your stack of business cards to events and going up to every single person, handing them your card. Do the hustle.
Time management wise, I mean, just between like today's session, last time's marketing session, and like actually doing the work at some point, like how?
So do you remember did you go to the workshop?
I didn't go to the workshop.
So we did an equation, well, let me pull it up. So the whole point of productizing your services is that it does save you time and effort when doing things.
That's why it's so stressed too, and that's why you're creating your task list. And, like you're literally retaining time.
Gotcha.
And calendar block and outsource where appropriate.
Okay.
Open.
And that way, when new clients come in, you can look at your calendar, and if you've calendar blocked, and sort of put placeholders in, you'll see when there's more space, and then schedule them to start then.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so this is an example, and this is the same thing. Oops. I'm just gonna zoom in. The same thing that we did in the presentation and the workshop. So if you want to think about what your monthly revenue goal is, how much you're charging for your average client, what your hourly rate is, you put this into the equation, you realize you're only actually, your design time for that project is 12.5 hours a week for you to make $5,000 a month. So once you get to this level where things are productized and automated, you're charging more for clients, you have higher value, that's when it'll open up more free time for you to do other stuff like this, so that you can continue the process of onboarding more of your blue chips.
Okay. And you have to figure out what works for you, but batch days, once a month is the day where you'll plan out your 4 blog posts for the next month, or
your marketing, you'll have 2 days that you pound out your marketing for the rest of the month.
And then just taking it one day at a time.
And then this is campaigns that would fit into the monthly calendar that you could run. And then there's just the standard day-to-day, sales, emails, follow-up. I spend more time on sales than I do anything else. I don't actually design 40 hours a week. Very rarely do I ever design 40 hours a week.
And she's in business and making a living, and you're in business, you're making a living. I, on the other hand, hated doing that.
Yeah.
Despite my background.
Although I hate sales, but I do it because I have to. But it works fine.
You get used to it.
Yeah, it just comes. That's why I say you can't just be a freelancer. You have to be a company. This is everything that a company does, regardless. Oops. Okay.
I think that's why it seems like there's so many, you go to all these discussion panels with other freelancers and things, and inevitably there's every single one of them always they have a contract for 25 or 35 hours a week with somebody anyway, and then their freelance is really a side job compared to a contract that they have with a single client that's doing everything else. Or they're like you, where instead of spending 30 hours working for somebody specifically, they're selling for the other 12 and a half hours.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the retainers that you have, and every month is different, But there's lots of different types of freelancers, There's nothing wrong with getting a short-term 6-12 month contract with an agency if it's actual work that that you're going to have.
The best case scenario for me was that the retainer clients, I like them, and they would cover my base expenses. So I didn't have to worry about living and paying my bills and having that, and have that be half of your time, so that it allows for the other half, or whatever the equation is, to have fun projects and say yes to random things and have one-off projects. And but if you could possibly get just figure out your expenses, you're going to be, bare bones for a little bit as you ramp up. And
and I think that this course, or what we've been doing, has been very much geared towards you finding your own clients and not going on those contracts to be a temporary designer, freelance designer, in-house at an agency where you're essentially working full-time but not getting the benefits. right? Because it is possible to make money outside that and not be constrained. Like you want to be a freelancer for a reason. You want to have the flexibility. You want to have the ability to make changes in your schedule and find your own clients. And that's what all of this is setting you up to do. Okay, everyone's heard of a sales funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty basic stuff. So awareness, leads, prospects, money.
And I'd say don't, 3/4 of that was sales. So don't spend all of your time writing blog posts. Make sure you're efficient with your time and spend more time on the sales part, you know what I mean? So I could get lost for, posting and all that stuff, but really, yeah.
And you have to like actually talk to people and like do the sales piece.
Yep. Okay, so your first funnel, essentially 3 different things. So traffic, lead, sales. It could be just your traffic comes from a guest blog, which leads them to your website, which generates sales. How are you going to measure? So making sure you have some sort of analytics set up, or if you're sending out an e-blast, if you have access to, if you do it through MailChimp, track the analytics. Then measure your ROI. And then your conversion rate, so traffic leads conversion rate, and then the customer leads to customer conversion rate. So you'll find that you may have to get 1,000 people to visit your website in order for 50 of them to turn into a lead, and then of those 50, you may find that 5 of them turn into customers. All right, so your templates. So cold lead, warm lead, rekindle the conversation. This is really what business is for me. All of these guys. So cold, warm, rekindle the conversation. I sent out a few of those last week. Rekindle.
Sales activities can be fun. Go to events that are fun. It's like, it doesn't have to be such a drag. The drag is the discipline, the follow-up, the rekindling, but at least nobody cold calls anymore these days.
No.
I had a job with the lists of names and numbers and a telephone. No computer.
Get cold calls at work
Yes.
for people.
That's like
from
financial
financial firms looking
I
for
did.
clients.
I worked on a STAR team in college where we would cold call prospective students. So like every day for 3 hours a day, I was making all these cold calls. You get really good at talking. So I'm an identical twin, and both me and her have drastically different voices now. And I think it's primarily because I was on the cheerleading team in high school, so I learned how to project. Where if I were my sister, well, she's not watching, but sometimes she watches the live stream. Like my sister, she just tends to talk like this, like very in like this voice doesn't leave her body, and I get so mad. I'm like, can you please just talk normally so I can hear you? So this is what your homework is for tonight, actually, to generate these templates for yourself. So cold introduction, warm introduction, rekindle the conversation. So if you send out these 2 emails and there's no response, after 1 week, 2 weeks, you can send out a rekindle the conversation with them. Your proposal email, which I use every single time I send out a proposal, and then a project kickoff, and then your end of project / upsell.
When you're rekindling, send something that reminds you of them.
Where you met.
Offer something, hey, this is my latest blog post that might be helpful, like.
Yeah. Like, it was great talking to you at XYZ networking event. I think this blog post is relevant to what we were talking about, or relevant towards the event. Let me know if you want to talk more.
Is the only difference between a warm or a warm lead and like the rekindling the conversation, the fact that they didn't respond to your initial warm or cold lead?
They don't know you, they know you.
Sure, and the rekindle is
they don't know you or they know you and they just haven't replied.
Okay. So it could be similar to either of them, just are.
It's just a follow-up email. It's just like, hey, I actually, my email subject line for this is actually rekindle the conversation. That's actually what it is.
And there's, I think what you're talking, there's like rekindle, like that you had a first call and then they're thinking about it and whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's the like rekindle the conversation, like they almost pulled the trigger and said no, but like it was a good fit and it was like, it wasn't like a, like there was like a relationship there that, you know what I mean?
Maybe no response. Yeah, so it could be like this person said no, and then you could it could be
Like the bad timing ones, you know, where it's like, oh, this is a good fit, but not the right
2
time.
months later you follow up with them, and then maybe it could be like 1 month, and this could be 1 week.
Just put it on your calendar and then forget about it.
Are all of these HTML emails?
No, just in normal emails.
Just regular
Just
emails?
regular
too?
emails that you send out to them. Yeah, so I have these days as templates that I'll just copy paste, and it's part of my normal sales process that I just do in my inbox. It's not enough. Like you have to customize these for every single client, you know. But you follow the template. So when you're ready, so you just like copy paste, edit, make it relevant. Project kickoff. And these could be like if you wanted to use something like HubSpot, they do have like you can write these sequences out and it'll like customize all of that for you. But it doesn't make sense at all.
Dubsado does that where you can set up your own, so like an action will trigger one of these and you can set up like a workflow. Like I had, if they filled out the design inquiry on my website, that it would just send an email in an hour or 30 minutes or something saying, thank you so much. Like here's the link to like schedule some time on my calendar. I can't wait to talk about it, whatever.
Okay.
I actually looked into Dubsado recently.
Did you?
Just used that, and I really like that. It looks
Yeah,
great, yeah.
they're really nice
Makes
too, the
sense.
owners. And they add a lot of, like, they
They had a lot of things that you use, it seems like.
yeah, they do. Especially the
Is that how you
design.
spell them? DUBSADU?
DUV, yeah. The design rounds have been phenomenal. Like where I'll put
Really?
like, this is part of option 1, 2, and then it's like pick your option, any notes, revisions, and then it's been like really efficient that way. Because I think people don't know, and it has like a little bit of instruction of like helpful feedback is, you know, I'll put that in there, and then you just use it over and over again.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, client role plays. So this first one is pretty just matter of fact, straightforward. So I just need someone to kind of read through this with me. Someone wants to be.
I'll read the background if somebody wants to do the narrative.
There's no. This is. I think this one is just reading. So I'm just not going to read it to you. So I just need someone to be Gwen.
I'll go.
Hi, Gwen.
I'm Gwen or the designer?
Oh, sorry. Ah! I get these confused every time. No, you're the designer and I'm Gwen. Just kidding.
I'll be Frank.
Okay, so you want to read the background, Jen?
You get a random 20-minute meeting request from your website from a contact that you've never met before. The prospect's name is Gwen, and her job title is CEO Founder.
Hi Gwen, thanks for booking me from my website. Tell me a little about yourself and what you're looking for.
Thanks. I'm so excited to work with you. I just heard you on the She Did It Her Way podcast and felt so inspired. I had to book a time to chat with you. I have a new venture that I'm starting and I need help with my branding.
I'm flattered and happy that you got value from the podcast I was on. You're talking to the right person. I've worked with many bootstrap startups on their branding. I specialize in helping make their ideas happen from start to finish.
This all sounds like it's too good to be true. Can you please tell me about your process and how it all works?
Yep. So I use points to manage my projects. What this means for you is your project is assigned a number of points. Those points are allocated to your task list. Once you're done with your task list, you can purchase another round of points to continue to push your project further, or we can pause and see where you're at. This gives you the extra layer of transparency and flexibility that doesn't exist with other designers. My branding and identity package would fit your needs perfectly. Were you able to view this on my website?
Yeah, it sounds perfect. I've never heard of this point system before, but it makes so much sense. What a unique way to manage projects. So what are the next steps for your branding and identity package?
I will send you a proposal for your review and signature. Once your proposal is signed, you'll receive 3 things from me: an invitation to Teamwork, my project management tool, Dropbox, so you can have full access to all the assets generated for your project, and an invoice. I typically charge up front for projects.
Great. Well, I'll look forward to your proposal.
Sweet. That was the easiest
Yes.
customer.
Easiest customer ever. That's why I said it's pretty matter of fact, but this is, I wanted to show you guys this because this is pretty much an exact conversation that I had with a client like 3 weeks ago. So like it does happen, like things are this easy. Like she called me, it was a cold lead for my website. She happened to hear a podcast that I was featured on last year and it inspired her and she reached out to me, and then I had, she was closed and sold within an hour, and she had sent me her invoice and everything, and we kicked off the next morning. So it does happen. If you have everything set up right, you have all of this stuff figured out, you have your value there, you have your credibility there. So how
She
can
had made a connection with you, like heard you on.
She heard
the
me, yeah.
podcast. Usually that you get that opportunity in that first call, and she already felt that.
Yeah.
And so it was just checking on the details.
That's a good point. Yeah, true. True. So maybe you can get featured on some podcasts.
Yeah.
All right, next one. I'm Mike this time. We need a designer.
And Tom. Is
Yeah.
Tom the designer? No.
This is a designer. So this is a designer. So we do need 3. Forgot about this. Yeah. So I'll be Mike. Someone can be Tom, and then we need a designer.
I'll be Tom.
It'll be Tom, designer, Marco. Will you be the designer?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on location in a boardroom with a small business that is looking for a new website. You got referred to them from a warm connection in your network. Tom is the CTO and Mike is the CEO.
So I'm the designer.
You're the designer.
Okay. Hi, thanks for inviting me here today. I'm excited to have the opportunity to work with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your website and what you're looking for?
Yeah, we appreciate your time. All I really know is that I've been told we need a new website, and I guess I agree. But I'll let Tom talk about all the specifics. But essentially, it just needs to be updated.
Yeah, we have a WordPress site that has been maintained, but it's stuck on an old theme from 2012. I'd like it to be mobile friendly, and it needs to integrate with our CRM.
Oh, yes. So, well, I specialize in bringing websites into 2018. What CRM do you use?
For now, it's HubSpot. We have our sales team set up with it.
Okay, good to know. What are your goals with your new website other than integration and updated design? What would you like to see from your website in an ideal world?
Well, in an ideal world, it would start with generating us new leads for the sales team. It's pretty stale because of how old it is. It's not mobile friendly, so we're losing traffic. I don't know how much traffic because I don't have access to the analytics, but I know that it's not working the way that it should.
Mike, I send out analytics reports every Friday to keep you updated on the stats. We really don't have any mobile traffic, so I don't think that's an issue.
Why is it you think that we don't have any mobile traffic?
Okay, I understand. We can talk analytics more in depth once we have the project. Right now, I'd like to share with you some of my previous successes in our website development process. So thanks for your time. Based on this conversation, I feel like I have a good understanding about what you're looking for. For your reference, websites start from $10,000. What I'd like to do is put together a 3-tier proposal for your review, so you can select which tier works best for you. Starting with the basic website package, going up to an ongoing engagement where we can help your bottom line grow.
Thanks for your time. We'll look forward to seeing your proposal. Okay, so a couple of things happened here. What do you think about the relationship between Mike and Tom from this conversation?
Shows that it may be difficult to work with them because they're not on the same page to begin with.
Right? What else about them?
Whichever one was the CEO or whoever you were doesn't really have a grasp of what is going on
Okay.
or knows what he wants.
Which could cause what red flags?
It's hard to please somebody like that because they don't know what will make them happy, maybe, or what they don't have a clear measure of success, I guess, right? You don't know
Yeah.
where, you don't know what you're gonna need to do in order to succeed on the project for them, because they don't know what measure of success they're looking for.
Well, he's asking for
either.
analytics. He's just not getting them. He thinks that he's getting them, but he wants to see mobile traffic, but he doesn't have any because the website's not mobile friendly. And then the CTO, on the other hand, is like, look, I'm doing my job because this is what you're asking me to do. It's not my fault because there's no mobile. So that's, anyways. But for me, the first thing, the red flag that I see is that the CTO knows what he's kind of talking about, but he seems like he might be kind of difficult to work with, right? And then, but the CEO is going to be the decision maker, but he doesn't know what he's looking for. So do you actually trust those two to be able to make a decision for anything going forward? Or you can sell the CTO, but not the CEO. Like, how's this actually, like, what's this process gonna look like? So what about from the designer's perspective with their presentation? Were there any red flags, concerns?
You mean the presentation that was in italics?
No, from this last, like, no, from what was said from the designer. So like, not what was, like, what's implied that the designer is going to do. So what did he do that was anything unique that stood out to you that could be an interesting thing that you could maybe employ on your own?
We talked about like talking about the analytics more when the project is kicked off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he kind of pushed that away. He didn't want to, he saw that was going to be an issue between the two. So like, you don't have to talk about that in kind of like a discovery call with someone. You can talk about that later, which may or may not be a good thing, but depends how bad you want that $10,000. What else?
He did the upsell at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, starting with the basic. I'll start you with the basic, and then we can see from there.
The tiers, yes.
Yeah.
So if you find that it is a larger scope project that's going to be over a longer period of time with the potential for reoccurring revenue, you can add those tiers in. What else?
I would have been concerned about the sort of just like glazed, like went right past the like, yeah, we'll integrate HubSpot, but like how and in what capacity and to what extent? Like for me, having done web design in the past and web development in the past, like that level of integration is always something that like,
yeah.
Because it's one thing to like put a link to HubSpot on your thing or like drop an embed code from HubSpot into their website for them, and it's a whole nother thing to like, I mean, I don't even know specifically how HubSpot integrates with your website,
yeah.
So like that would probably be the first thing. And
yeah, so that's like, so the designer should have asked more questions about that specifically to get more details.
I would have before I threw a number out at them for pricing, because you don't know how much work is going to go, or even if you're capable of it, perhaps, right? Like you're going to need to hire.
This happens all the time. If you do websites, people ask for things that you maybe don't have the capabilities to do, and the last thing you want to do is commit yourself to the project and then not be able to actually do it, or you have to hire a subcontractor or a developer to come in and manage the project or that portion of the project, and then you're not making any money on this process. So there's, all of those things you have to take into consideration.
I think like a good example too, like people are always like, oh, we want to integrate our social media into our website, and that's always like, okay, like to what extent and why?
Yeah,
and like,
that's an old people. You can do an Instagram program, that's fine.
Sure, and that's fine, yeah. And if that's all it is, then that's easy and not a problem.
Yeah. I think another thing that he did here that I probably would have done differently is before even booking this meeting, make sure they understand where my website pricing starts from. Because the last thing you want to do is go through this whole conversation after your presentation, be in there for an hour and a half for it. Now you're going to be stuck in traffic coming back from the suburbs, like for them to like end the conversation and you drop this number and they're just like, oh my God, no way, this could ever work for us. So it's, again, just part of the vetting process with them.
Have you ever gone to something and like maybe had two people that you realize they are just going to be way too difficult to work with and it's not worth my time? Have you ever turned them down after like the first kind of like proposal meeting?
So I've never actually, I've been not in this capacity. I've had really shitty clients, but not like where I felt like I bit off too much that I can chew and like the decision just isn't being made. I've been brought in on projects where that was kind of already the scenario. And then like it's usually like marketing department fighting with the IT department. That's why I kind of set this up like you're like the decision maker isn't part of the process, and then he comes in and just like puts his iron fist down and smashes the entire project and like
You can always like say, I reviewed my design calendar and it looks like it's just too much work right now. Have somebody in your back pocket who can be like, listen, this might be difficult, but the budget might be there or whatever. Like practice somebody first, but I'd say have people in your back pocket to send them to, because it's like a super warm way to reject.
You can always say no, but refer to us.
Even if it's a bat, you say it's a bat. It might not be like the perfect fit for me, but I have somebody that, you know what I mean?
And they may work great with another company, you know, it just may not work for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left. How are you guys doing on time? We have one more role play unless anyone's got to run.
I have to run probably soon.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll speed through this. You can jump out if you have to. Well, this one. Okay. Well, speaking of shitty clients. All right.
Steven? Oh no, you have to go.
Yeah.
I could be Steve, you mean?
You want it?
How many? I could do it.
Okay.
Sure.
You got referred to Steven through a warm networking connection, Dylan, that you've worked with before. Steven needs to design and develop a website for a new technology platform that's going to be the new Facebook. He comes from a corporate product management background, and you're initially very excited to work with someone who's had this type of experience.
Am I the designer?
Yeah, you'd be the designer. Yeah.
Hi, Steven. I'm very much looking forward to working with you on this project. I've worked with Dylan in the past, and he can assure you of my work quality and effort.
Thanks, I appreciate that. You know, what I'm going to do is change the world as we know it. And what I need are smart, motivated, and talented individuals to join my team and make this happen. Is that you?
Absolutely. Can you tell me more about your project and what you're looking for?
Yes. First, I need you to sign this NDA before we take this conversation any further. NDA signed 2 hours later. You see, this is going to be the new LinkedIn, Facebook meets Tinder, and I'm already receiving lots of interest from potential investors and plan on getting funding very soon. I just got back from Silicon Valley, and all I need to do is get my website up and running and generating leads.
Okay. Well, what's your initial budget for this?
Well, there's nothing in it up front, equity only. I thought you said you were interested and motivated to work on a new technology that's going to change the world.
Well, I need to. Will I respond to that?
Yeah.
Can you go back to the last one?
Yeah.
I do work on a point-based system, and all my
So what I'm looking to do is build my team. This technology is going to change the world. I promise you. We just have to get it up and running.
I like your enthusiasm, and your idea sounds really interesting, but currently my schedule is pretty booked up. With like paid work.
Well, it doesn't seem that booked up. We just talked for the last 2 hours, so I'm sorry. I felt like you were really interested and engaged in this conversation. You're telling me we talked for 2 hours, and now you're saying your schedule's too full? Be prepared.
How do you tell people you don't take work for equity?
Just that, exactly like that.
Yeah, I don't work with clients only for equity currently.
Okay. All right. No, I understand. And I think that this is something that maybe I feel like we had a really good conversation. Maybe can we just talk in a couple months and see where you're at? Maybe you could join my team after I get funding.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Okay.
I'd love to catch back up with you in a few months.
Okay. All right. You're never going to reply to him. So
It's okay to say, oh no, that sounds amazing, but I don't do that. But that's awesome. Like,
So what did Steven do? He made the mistake of signing an NDA and then having a 2-hour-long conversation before breaking ground that there's equity only. So like there's certain processes and things, and this happens all the time in the startup world. It used to happen more. It doesn't happen anymore as frequently anymore, but like make sure you vet up front. Again, it has to do with the pricing, so there's no sticker shock at the end, and make sure that they are actual like real client for you.
One of my questions to schedule an appointment online with me is, what is your budget?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like,
But what if people just like kind of vote whatever now and then they like tell you this later?
you give them a drop down and they have to choose one and they can't
Then they're wrong.
click submit if they don't.
There's all types of people in the world, is what it comes down to. And this person seems to be very long-winded and thinks he has an amazing idea, even though he does not. So, all right, that's all I got. Homework for next week. Oops. Sorry, duplicate sides. Write your email templates and create your first sales funnel. So I would, for sure, you guys can skip the homework the last 2 weeks and just do email sequences because they're that helpful. What?
There's a ghost.
That's
We
weird.
hit our time limit.
Yeah,
We're not-
Gotta put another
we're
quarter in
done.
the TV.
that was strange. But because you will use these and they're invaluable to me in my everyday day-to-day business for those.
What was it? Email templates?
Email templates and create your first sales funnel. So what that essentially means is have a place for clients or leads to subscribe or get in contact with you. If you have a subscribe button on your blog, if you have a book 20-minute chat now, figure out what that is. And then that's your own little mini funnel. So you can just drive traffic to that. Like if you want to jump on a 20-minute call, okay, here's a link to do that.
Can you send us the this week, so
The what?
the PowerPoint or
Yes.
whatever that is again? To
Some of the urgency
Google
of the video.
Slides.
And
I will
Calendly is
share.
free.
Yeah.
Calendly is a free appointment and it's like amazing with Google. It integrates with everything and your site. You could do like a pop-up or a, whatever those are called. It comes. I don't know what those are called.
Calendly with a D.
Hey guys, that's it. All done.